I never thought a single night could unravel everything I believed about my marriage. If you had asked me a week ago, I would have told you my wife and I had a solid relationship. Not perfect, no marriage is, but stable, honest, built on trust. I was wrong. It all started with a party. Not even an important one, just a casual get-together at our friend Mark's house. A mix of old college friends, coworkers, and neighbors. The kind of thing where people drink, swap stories, and laugh about the good old days. Nothing about it should have been life-altering. But it was. Emily and I were supposed to go together. That was the plan. But a couple of hours before we were supposed to leave, she texted me. "Hey babe, I'm running behind. Just go ahead, I'll meet you there." I didn't think much of it at the time. She'd been busy at work all week, and I figured she just needed a little extra time to get ready. So I went alone, grabbed a beer, and fell into easy conversation with some old friends. But as the night wore on, I started to get this weird feeling. Every time I checked my phone, there was no update from Emily. No follow-up text saying she was on her way. An hour passed. Then another. People were asking me where she was. I laughed it off at first, saying she was running late, but by the third time someone asked, it stopped feeling funny. Then, finally, she showed up. And from the moment she walked in, I knew something was off. The moment Emily stepped through the door, my stomach dropped. It wasn't anything obvious, no smeared lipstick, no disheveled hair. But something about her was just different. She had changed clothes. When I left the house earlier that evening, she was wearing a soft blue dress, the kind that flowed just right when she walked. But now she had on a sleek black one, tighter, shorter, something I had never seen before. I knew Emily's wardrobe. I knew what she owned, what she liked to wear. And this? This wasn't hers. Or if it was, she had never worn it around me. I walked over to her, smiling, trying to act normal. "Hey, you finally made it," I said, forcing a chuckle. "What happened?" She blinked, as if startled that I was right there in front of her. Then she smiled too wide, too fast. "Sorry, babe. Work was a mess, and I needed a shower before coming." She kissed my cheek quickly, barely touching me, then glanced around the room, almost like she was looking for someone. That was when the second thing hit me. She smelled different. Not just fresh perfume, though. Yeah, there was that, too. But there was something else underneath it. Something musky, like cologne. A scent I didn't recognize. A cold feeling settled in my gut, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe she sprayed something at the office. Maybe she hugged a friend. Maybe. "Let's get a drink," she said quickly, grabbing my wrist and tugging me toward the kitchen. "I need one after today." I let her pull me away, but my mind was racing. Something wasn't right. The tension in the room. As we moved through the crowd, I noticed something else strange. People were looking at her. More than that, they were exchanging glances. Small, knowing smirks. Raised eyebrows. A couple of hushed whispers. Now, look. I'm not the overly jealous type. Emily was beautiful, and I was used to guys noticing her. But this was different. This wasn't admiration. It was like people knew something I didn't. Mark, the guy hosting the party, caught my eye from across the room. His smile faltered, and then he looked away. What the hell was going on? In the kitchen, Emily grabbed a drink and downed half of it in one go. I stood beside her, watching the way her hands trembled just slightly as she set the glass down. "You okay?" I asked, my voice casual. She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just long day. I'm fine." She wasn't fine. But before I could press further, someone clapped me on the back. "Hey man, glad you made it." It was Brian, an old friend from college. I turned to greet him, and for just a second, my attention was off Emily. When I looked back, she was gone. The vanishing act. I scanned the room, my pulse quickening. She had been right there. Where the hell had she gone? Mark walked by, and I grabbed his arm. "Hey, have you seen Emily?" He hesitated for just a second. A flicker of something guilt? Unease crossed his face. "Oh, not sure, man. Maybe outside." He left before I could say anything else. My gut was screaming now. I pushed through the crowd, weaving between people, looking for her. The patio? The hallway? The bathroom? No sign of her. Then I noticed the back staircase. It led to the upstairs rooms. The private ones. My throat went dry. I didn't want to go up there. I didn't want to know. But my feet were already moving. My heart was pounding as I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. I had no real reason to suspect anything, at least. That's what I kept telling myself. Maybe she went to the bathroom. Maybe she needed a quiet moment. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew. The strange looks, the whispers, the way she had changed outfits, the unfamiliar scent on her skin. Something wasn't adding up, and every instinct in my body was telling me to find out why. As I reached the top of the stairs, I hesitated. The hallway was dimly lit, and most of the doors were shut. A couple of them were cracked open, faint voices and laughter drifting from inside. But there was one door at the far end that was closed. I swallowed hard. If she's in there, what will I do? I took a breath and moved forward, my fingers tightening into a fist. The closer I got, the more my mind raced. Why did she disappear the second my back was turned? Why did Mark act so weird when I asked about her? And why did she even change her clothes in the first place? I reached the door, and then I heard it. Not talking, not laughter, just silence. The kind of silence that felt thick, heavy, like the air was waiting for something to happen. I raised my hand, hesitated for half a second, then knocked. No response. I knocked again, firmer this time. Emily. A sound. A shuffle. Then nothing. My pulse hammered. I gripped the doorknob and turned it slowly. It wasn't locked. I pushed it open, and what I saw made my stomach drop. What was behind the door? The room was dark, except for a faint glow from a lamp in the corner. It was one of the guest bedrooms, tidy, barely used, nothing special. But my wife was standing near the bed, her back turned to me. And she wasn't alone. A man was there, too, standing close, too close. I didn't recognize him. Tall, athletic build, expensive-looking watch. He had his hands raised, like I had caught him mid-motion. Emily's shoulders were stiff, her hands clenched into fists. They weren't touching. Not yet. But the way they were standing, the tension in the air. I felt like I had walked in a second too early. Or maybe a second too late. Emily spun around, eyes wide. Oh. Hey. I was just. She was talking too fast, words rushing together. My ears were ringing. The guy, whoever the hell he was, cleared his throat, stepping back like he had just realized how bad this looked. Hey, man. We were just talking. Talking. Right. I looked at Emily, my mind scrambling for something, anything, to make this make sense. Who is this? I asked, my voice eerily calm. She hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough. This is, Adam, she said finally. We went to college together. You remember Adam, right? I had never heard of an Adam. Not once in our years together. And I could tell from the way she avoided my eyes she knew that, too. The lies begin. She was lying. I could feel it. Smell it. Hear it in the way her voice wavered. I had caught her in something, maybe not in the act, but in the middle of something she hadn't planned on me seeing. I clenched my jaw. So, if I ask Mark, he'll remember Adam? Adam let out a forced chuckle. Man, you don't have to. Shut up. The words came out before I could stop them. My hands were shaking. Emily's face drained of color. Babe, Why did you change? I cut her off, my voice sharp. You were wearing a blue dress. Where did this one come from? Her mouth opened. Closed. She glanced at Adam, big mistake. Look at me, I snapped. She did. Finally. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't crazy. Her pupils were blown wide. A mixture of fear, guilt, and something else, panic. Answer me. She licked her lips, her hands gripping the hem of her dress. I brought this to change into. The other one got a stain. A stain. I didn't believe her for a second. But before I could say anything else, a voice echoed from downstairs. Yo, OP. You up there? It was Brian. The tension in the room shattered. Emily exhaled sharply, like she had been holding her breath. Adam took another step back. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to unclench my fists. This wasn't over. Not even close. I turned and left the room. Because if Emily thought she could lie her way out of this, she was dead wrong. I walked downstairs, but my mind was still stuck in that dimly lit room, replaying every detail like a broken record. Emily's stiff posture, Adam's guilty stance, the way she hesitated before introducing him. My gut twisted because I just knew, that something was off. Brian was waiting for me at the foot of the stairs, holding a beer in one hand and smirking like he had just won a bet. Dude, what are you doing up there? He asked. I forced a chuckle. Looking for Emily. She disappeared for a bit. He raised an eyebrow. Did you find her? Something about the way he said it, too casual, too knowing, made my skin crawl. I nodded slowly. Yeah. Brian took a sip of his beer. I was never leaving mine. Everything good? I wanted to ask him what he knew. If he had seen anything. But I wasn't ready to tip my hand yet, so I just nodded again. Yeah, all good. Except it wasn't. I felt like I was walking through the party in a daze. Conversations buzzed around me. Music played, people laughed, but none of it felt real anymore. It was like I was suddenly an outsider looking in, like I had stepped into a version of my life where everything looked normal, but nothing actually was. And then Emily appeared again. She had come downstairs, now back in the kitchen, talking to Jess and another friend. When she saw me, her smile flickered, just for a second, before she forced it back into place. That was the moment I realized just how much of a performance this was. Everything about her, the way she laughed, the way she stood close to her friends like nothing had happened, felt manufactured. Like she was hoping I wouldn't ask any more questions. Like she was hoping I would just let this slide. The dance of deception. I wasn't going to let it slide. I walked up, sliding my arm around her waist like I always did. She tensed for just a second before relaxing into it. Caught that, didn't you? Hey, babe, she said smoothly, tilting her head up to kiss my cheek. Having fun. Yeah, I lied. You? She nodded quickly, glancing at her friends. Of course. I was just telling them about that work trip I have coming up. Work trip? That was the first I was hearing about it. Emily and I told each other everything about our schedules. Or at least, I thought we did. I swallowed the knot in my throat. Oh yeah. I asked, playing along. Where to? She hesitated. Again. But only for a second. Chicago. Just a few days. Nothing big. Jess, standing next to her, shifted uncomfortably. That was another red flag. I wasn't just imagining things. Other people knew something. I could see it now. The way Jess kept sneaking glances at Emily. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Emily, on the other hand, was too relaxed now, like she had convinced herself she had dodged a bullet. I let her think that, because I needed to play this smart. The slip that changed everything. We stayed at the party for another hour. I watched her closely, but I didn't press her, not yet. Instead, I let her talk. I let her drink. And sure enough, she started to slip. It was subtle at first. A misstep here, a contradiction there. A comment about how she had barely seen Jess in forever, when just 20 minutes earlier, she said she had lunch with her last week. But the real moment, the bombshell, came later, when we were getting ready to leave. I was grabbing our coats when I heard Adam's voice again. He was near the front door, talking to Mark. I hadn't seen him since I left that room upstairs, and I would have ignored him completely if it weren't for one thing. He said Emily's name. I froze. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but once I heard it, I couldn't stop listening. Nah, she handled it fine, Adam was saying, voice low. But if he asks anything else, just stick to the plan, all right? Stick to the plan? Mark muttered something I couldn't hear. Adam laughed softly. Relax. It's done. She covered it up. He doesn't suspect a thing. I went cold. Every nerve in my body lit up. I turned. Too fast, too sharp, but they noticed. Adam's eyes met mine, and for a split second, something flickered there. Fear. But just as quickly, he smoothed his expression and gave me a casual nod, as if nothing was wrong. Like I was supposed to just walk away. Like I wasn't supposed to ask questions. I clenched my jaw, feeling my pulse hammering in my ears. I could have confronted him right there, but I didn't. Because now I knew for sure. I wasn't crazy. Emily was lying. And this was just the beginning. The drive home was silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence we used to have, where we'd steal glances at each other and smile. No, this silence was heavy. It sat between us like a wall, thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Emily stared out the window, scrolling through her phone. Every few seconds, the screen lit up, and I caught glimpses of notifications, messages, updates, but nothing I could read outright. I could feel the distance between us. I wasn't stupid. Adam's words from earlier kept echoing in my mind. Relax. It's done. She covered it up. He doesn't suspect a thing. But I did. I suspected everything now. Still, I knew better than to come out swinging. I needed more. If I accused her outright, she'd just deny it. Twist it. Make me feel like I was overreacting. No, I had to be smarter. I had to let her think she had me fooled. So I exhaled and forced a smile. You were quiet tonight, I said, keeping my voice light. She blinked, as if startled. Then she smiled. Too fast, too wide. Just tired. Long day. Long day or long night. I kept my eyes on the road, nodding like I believed her. Yeah, work must have been brutal. A pause. Yeah, she said finally. That hesitation again. A second too long, a beat too late. I didn't press further. Not yet. A bedroom full of secrets. When we got home, Emily went straight upstairs. Normally, we'd unwind together, maybe watch something before bed. Not tonight. She was avoiding me. I followed her after a few minutes, peeking into our bedroom just as she stepped into the bathroom. The door clicked shut, the sound of running water filling the space. I glanced at her phone. It was on the nightstand. Unlocked. My heart pounded. I had never snooped through her stuff before. Never needed to. But now? Now I felt like I had no choice. I picked it up, hands slightly shaking. No messages from Adam. Nothing obvious. But then I noticed something weird. Her recent call log had been wiped. Completely. Who deletes their call history? Unless they're hiding something. I tapped on her messages, but before I could scroll, I heard the water stop. Crap. I put the phone back exactly where it was and moved to my side of the bed, grabbing a book like I hadn't just been 2 seconds away from uncovering something huge. She walked out in her robe, towel drying her hair. She didn't look at me. Didn't say good night. Just crawled into bed, rolling to her side, facing away. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the lie pressing down on me. This wasn't paranoia anymore. I had proof, and I was going to find out the truth. The start of a dangerous game. The next morning, Emily was different. She woke up before me, rare. By the time I got downstairs, she was already dressed, sipping coffee at the kitchen table. Morning, she said, smiling like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't spent the night running from me. I played along. Morning. She took a sip of her coffee. I'm meeting Jess for brunch today. Just a girl's thing. Jess. The same Jess who looked uncomfortable at the party. The same Jess who might know everything. Nice, I said casually. Tell her I said hi. Emily nodded, but something flickered in her eyes. She was testing me, seeing if I'd ask questions. I didn't. Not yet. Because I had my own plan. As soon as she left, I grabbed my keys. I wasn't sitting around waiting for lies anymore. I was going to get answers, one way or another. The moment Emily's car disappeared down the street, I grabbed my jacket and headed out. I wasn't about to sit at home pretending everything was normal while she was off weaving more lies. I didn't go to Jess's house, not yet. That would be too obvious. Instead, I drove somewhere I knew would give me answers. Mark's place. If anyone knew what the hell was going on, it was him. He had looked uncomfortable at the party, dodging my questions. And then there was that conversation I overheard, Adam telling him to stick to the plan. I pulled up to his house and knocked, my pulse hammering in my ears. After a long moment, the door opened, and Mark stood there, blinking at me in surprise. Hey, man. What's up? I forced a smile. Just wanted to talk. He hesitated, then stepped aside. Yeah, sure. Come in. I walked in, keeping my expression neutral. His house smelled like stale beer and old pizza, probably still recovering from the party. Mark rubbed the back of his neck. You want a drink or something? No, I said flatly. I just need to ask you something. He tensed. Just slightly. I didn't waste time. What's the deal with Emily and Adam? His face immediately changed. His casual, friendly expression vanished, replaced by something tight, guarded. What do you mean? He asked, playing dumb. I said, stepping closer, you and Adam were talking at the party. I heard what he said. She covered it up. He doesn't suspect a thing. What the hell does that mean, Mark? His eyes widened. Dude, don't lie to me. My voice was sharp now, cutting through his pathetic attempt at pretending. Mark exhaled and looked away. For a second, I thought he was going to shut down completely. But then, he ran a hand through his hair and muttered, Look, man, I don't know the full story, all right? I wasn't involved. But what? I pressed. He swallowed hard. Adam and Emily, there's history there. My stomach twisted. What kind of history? Mark hesitated. Then, they used to hook up. Back in college. I stared at him, my mind racing. She never mentioned him. Not once. Mark gave me a look. Yeah, man. Probably for a reason. That was all I needed to hear. I turned on my heel and walked out, ignoring Mark calling after me. Because now, everything made sense. The way Emily disappeared at the party. The tension when I found them upstairs. The way she panicked when I asked about her dress. The erased call logs on her phone. She knew she was hiding something. And I was about to get every last piece of the truth. Confronting the lies. I didn't drive home. I drove straight to the restaurant where Emily was having brunch with Jess. It wasn't hard to find them. They were sitting at a patio table, sipping mimosas like everything was perfectly normal. I parked and walked up, my footsteps firm, my hands clenched at my sides. Emily saw me first. Her smile faltered for just a second before she forced it back in place. "Hey, babe, what are you doing here?" I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. Jess immediately looked uncomfortable. "Good." I folded my hands on the table and met Emily's eyes. "Tell me about Adam." Her entire body stiffened. What? I didn't blink. "Adam, your college friend. Tell me about him." Jess froze. Emily forced a laugh. "Babe, what's going on? Why are you acting like this?" "Because," I said, my voice steady, "I just came from Mark's place. And he told me that you and Adam used to hook up." Her face drained of color. Jess muttered, "Oh my God." Emily stammered, "That was a long time ago. It wasn't a big deal." "Really?" I cut her off. "Because at the party, you looked like you were hiding something. You left me downstairs and ran off with him. You changed your dress. And then I overheard Adam telling Mark that you covered it up and that I didn't suspect a thing." Emily's mouth opened, then closed. She had nothing to say, because she was caught. Jess stood up abruptly. I need to go." She grabbed her purse and walked away, leaving Emily alone with me. I leaned forward. "So, you want to tell me what the hell is going on?" Emily stared at me. Then she did something I wasn't expecting. She broke down. Her face crumpled, her hands shaking as she covered her mouth. And that was when I realized, whatever she was about to say, it was worse than I thought. The moment Emily walked out the door, I grabbed my jacket and car keys. I wasn't going to just sit at home, drowning in questions with no answers. If she thought I was going to keep playing the clueless husband, she was dead wrong. I had one goal: find out what she wasn't telling me. I knew Jess was the key. Out of everyone at the party, she had looked the most uncomfortable. She wasn't like Mark or Brian, giving me half-hearted smiles and dodging my questions. No, she had looked guilty. And guilt only meant one thing: she knew something. So I got in my car and drove straight to the brunch spot Emily had mentioned, the Greenhouse Cafe. It was one of those trendy little places with overpriced avocado toast and bottomless mimosas. I wasn't planning on walking in or confronting her there. That would be stupid. Instead, I parked across the street and waited. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, she showed up. But she wasn't alone. The unexpected guest. Emily stepped out of her car, looking casual, too casual. Leggings, an oversized sweater, hair pulled into that effortless messy bun she always wore when she wanted to look put together, but not like she was trying. Jess was already outside waiting for her, arms crossed, looking tense. And then Adam arrived. The second I saw him walking toward them, my stomach twisted into a knot. He was wearing sunglasses, but I recognized him immediately. The same cocky posture, the same expensive-looking watch I had seen at the party. He walked up to them like he belonged there, like he was expected. Emily barely even looked surprised. And that was what hit me the hardest. She didn't flinch, didn't glance over her shoulder like she was worried about being caught. She just gave him a quick nod, almost businesslike, before they all walked inside together. I gripped the steering wheel, white-knuckled. There was no way in hell this was just a friendly meetup. Following the lies. I didn't hesitate. I got out of my car and followed them. Not inside, of course. I wasn't an idiot. But I found a table at an outdoor cafe across the street, close enough that I could see through the large glass windows of the Greenhouse Cafe. I watched as they sat down in a booth near the back, Emily next to Jess, Adam across from them. Their body language was tight. No one was laughing, no one looked relaxed. Jess was saying something, her hands moving quickly, anxious. Adam leaned back, arms crossed, expression unreadable. And Emily, she just listened, occasionally nodding, biting her lip, like she was agreeing to something. I tried to read their lips, but the distance made it impossible. I considered going inside, pretending to bump into them, but no. Too risky. Instead, I pulled out my phone and did the only thing I could think of. I took a photo, not just of them sitting together, but of the entire scene. Emily, Jess, Adam, captured in the middle of their secret meeting. Proof. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with it yet, but I knew one thing for sure. My wife was keeping secrets from me, and I wasn't going to stop until I found out why. A plan forms. I didn't stay long. There was no point. Sitting there, watching them talk, would only make my blood boil more. I had what I needed, confirmation that something was going on. So I drove home. I spent the entire ride thinking, how long had this been going on? Was it just Adam, or was there more? Had Mark, Brian, Jess, all of them, been covering for her this whole time? By the time I pulled into our driveway, I knew I needed a new plan. Emily was too good at lying. If I asked her outright, she'd just twist the truth, give me half-baked excuses. No. If I wanted to know what was really happening, I had to be smarter. I needed real evidence. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I grabbed Emily's laptop from the living room and opened it. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I'd find something. And I was right. I sat at our kitchen table, Emily's laptop in front of me, my fingers hovering over the trackpad. My heart pounded in my chest like a drum, steady but loud. This was crossing a line, and I knew it. But at this point, did it even matter? She had already crossed it first. I took a deep breath, opened the lid, and pressed the power button. The screen blinked to life. Password prompt. Of course. But Emily and I had been together long enough that I knew her habits. She wasn't one to use complicated passwords. She liked things easy, memorable. I tried our anniversary. No luck. Then her childhood pet's name. Nothing. Then, I remembered something. Emily had this habit. She always used variations of her favorite book titles for passwords. It was something she joked about when we first started dating. I took a shot in the dark. Gatsby 2019. The screen flickered. I was in. The first clue. I hesitated, staring at the desktop. This felt wrong. Not because I was invading her privacy, but because part of me was still hoping I wouldn't find anything. That this was just paranoia. That there was some kind of rational, non-terrible explanation for everything. But when I clicked on her emails, my stomach dropped. There wasn't much at first, regular work emails, spam, the usual nonsense. But then I noticed something odd. An email from a hidden folder. Why would Emily have a hidden folder? I clicked it open, and there it was. A thread of emails between Emily and Adam. The emails that said everything. The first one was from a few weeks ago. Adam. Hey, I can't stop thinking about the other night. Are we still on for next week? My blood ran cold. Emily's reply. Just a few minutes later, of course. Can't wait. Same time, same place. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth hurt. I scrolled down further. More emails. Some casual, some not. Emily, you looked amazing at the party. I wish I had more time alone with you. Adam, you know we'll have plenty of time soon. Just be patient. Plenty of time for what? I kept scrolling. And then I found it. An email from Mark, the guy who had hosted the party. Mark, everything is set for Friday. I'll make sure no one bothers you guys. Just be careful. Don't get caught. Don't get caught. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it nearly cracked. The room spun around me. My own friend, Mark, had helped her. They had planned it. This wasn't some random mistake. It was premeditated. And suddenly, everything from the past few weeks made sense. The secret meetings. The hushed conversations. The tension at the party. It wasn't just cheating. It was calculated betrayal. The return of a liar. I sat there, gripping the edge of the table, staring at nothing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. I wanted to call her right that second and demand to know how long she had been making a fool of me. But I didn't. Because I wasn't done yet. I needed to know everything before I confronted her. And I wasn't going to give her a single second to twist the story. So I opened the laptop again and checked her calendar. I scanned the dates. And that's when I saw it. A hotel reservation. For tonight. Under Adam's name. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The confirmation email was right there. The check-in time was in an hour. I sat there, gripping the laptop, my breathing shallow. And then, like clockwork, I heard the front door unlock. Emily was home. I had two choices. Pretend I didn't know anything, gather more proof, and destroy her later. Confront her, right here, right now. I heard her set her keys down. The rustling of her coat as she took it off. She walked into the kitchen, smiling, completely unaware of what I had just uncovered. Hey, babe, she said, voice smooth, easy. How was your day? I looked at her. And for the first time in our marriage, I saw her for what she really was. A liar. A cheater. A stranger. And she had no idea what was coming next. I sat there, gripping Emily's laptop, every muscle in my body screaming at me to confront her right then and there. To demand answers. To expose every single one of her lies. But then, something inside me shifted. For weeks, months, maybe, I had been trapped in a nightmare of doubt, second-guessing my own instincts, feeling like I was going crazy. Not anymore. Because now I had clarity. And instead of rage, I felt something liberating. I looked up at her, standing there, smiling like she hadn't just wrecked our marriage, like she hadn't just walked through the door fresh from meeting the man she was sneaking around with. And suddenly, I didn't feel like the fool anymore. She was the fool, because she had no idea that this was the last time she would ever walk into this house as my wife. The calm before the storm. I set the laptop down carefully. "Hey," I said, forcing an easy smile. My day was good. Actually, it was pretty productive. Her eyes flickered slightly, like she wasn't expecting that response. "Oh, what did you do?" I leaned back in my chair, stretching casually. "Oh, just some cleaning up. Getting rid of things I don't need anymore." Her expression stayed neutral, but I could tell something in my tone unsettled her. "That's good." I smiled wider. "Too wide." "Yeah, it really is." Then I stood up, walked past her, and grabbed my coat. "Where are you going?" she asked, laughing lightly, like this was any other day. I turned at the door and gave her one last look. "Out," I said. "Don't wait up." And I left. The beginning of a new life. I didn't follow her to the hotel. I didn't need to. Instead, I went straight to my lawyer's office. I had already called ahead. By the time I got there, everything was ready. All the proof, the emails, the photos, the hotel reservations, it was enough to ensure that when I left her, I wouldn't lose a damn thing. I filed for divorce that night. By the time Emily realized what was happening, it was too late. The next morning, I changed the locks. Had her served. Made sure her life was just as shaken up as mine had been. And the best part? I didn't yell. I didn't beg for answers. I didn't let her gaslight me or twist the story. I just walked away, moving on and moving up. It's been a few months since that night, and honestly, I feel better than ever. The first few weeks were rough, I won't lie. But then I realized something. I had spent so much time trying to hold together a marriage that was already broken, I hadn't even thought about what life could look like without her lies weighing me down. Now, I wake up every morning without anxiety. I don't have to wonder who she's texting, where she's going, what she's hiding. I own my peace. And Emily? Well, let's just say karma came knocking pretty fast. She tried to beg for another chance. Sent messages. Called. Showed up at my new place, crying. But I didn't even let her through the door. Last I heard, Adam ghosted her. Turns out, he wasn't looking for love, just conquest. And when the thrill was gone, so was he. Jess? She eventually reached out, apologized for keeping quiet. We're not friends, but at least she owned up to her mistakes. Mark and Brian? Dead to me. But me? I won. Because now I have something Emily will never have again. My trust. My happiness. My future. And I don't regret a single damn thing.